All right, hello, my name is Brett Bentley. I'm here to do a critical appraisal of a quantitative research article. The article I chose was titled um, Benzodiazepine Detected in Patients Evaluated in the ER Room for Suspected Opioid Overdoses. This was conducted in 4 states. And the whole idea of the article was to explain what types of narcotics and other kind of illicit substances were found in these opioid overdoses, to pretty much explain what's being combined with these substances and just the rates of what's going on, and just the truth of what's truly going on out there. So first off, that this study was conducted in a descriptive format. So basically, it's going to show us our rates of what kind of substances are being introduced with these opioid overdoses, and it's showing this percentages, and it's taken out of 21 different patients, and it's showing us what percentages of which ones are taking opioids with benzodiazepine and which ones are taking with other substances. I think the other one was amphetamines and methamphetamine. And basically, it'll show us the rates of respiratory depression, loss of consciousness, and it's showing us out of these 21 people, what percentage out of these people were experiencing what symptoms, which combinations, and it's showing us directly a picture of what's going on. It's not doing a cause and effect. It's showing us what exactly is going on out there, and just a picture for the audience to see what's going on now, and like compared to what we're seeing on television. All right, so number two, so pretty much explain the introduction, method, results, and conclusion to this research report. The introduction was pretty much going over its first paragraph. It shows us a picture of opioid overdoses in a modern perspective. It's going to show us, this isn't what it was 20 years ago. They're using a handful of different drugs, and it's basically showing us that we're seeing more. It's a more complicated picture than it was 20 years ago. Because 20 years ago, we're seeing one drug being used, and it's a clean picture of how to reverse it, what to see, and it's just a cookie cutter image of what's going to happen. Nowadays, in a modern setting, you're not seeing that anymore. You're seeing a more conglomeration of different substances. It's really hard to treat because it's harder to reverse these substances whenever there's multiple things going on, because let's be real, if you have 5 problems, there's not always just one solution. And so the method to how this research project was done to show these numbers is they took a toxicology report from these different ERs in 4 different states, and they basically just showed what the toxicology report was showing. It showed us, what percentage was exhibiting these exact type of benzodiazepine, the exact types of opioids, whether it be fluoro, chloro, fentanyl, whether it be fentanyl, or would it be oxycodone. So it's a very detailed in which type of drugs are being shown in this toxicology report. And the patients were ages 25 to 63, so you're seeing a bit of everybody in there. So this isn't a very select group of people. This is a very broadened horizon for this project. And basically the results were showing that most of the people were, I would say it showed actually 53% of the people were exhibiting a certain type of benzodiazepine in these combinations, and it was basically showing that Narcan wasn't working for these patients alone, that they needed flumazenil, which was a reversal for benzodiazepine. You needed for 5 different solutions, for 5 different problems, you needed 5 different solutions. So it wasn't always easy as the cookie cutter situation 20 years ago. And the conclusion was pretty much showing that, is that, this is what we're seeing nowadays. And it's a very complicated issue for ERs to do that. And they were showing that naloxone it was the first line of treatment for these patients because they didn't know really how to treat it. All right, so pretty much the research article I chose, it stays along with the steps of a quantitative research process, except for the very end. Okay, so for the discussion of what's going on, the purpose, it pretty much strays away from the whole focus of the group being about benzodiazepine, and it starts to tangent into focusing on opioid addiction It starts, the last paragraph and a half was about reversing an opioid overdose, and clearly it's the focus of the research project was about the combination of opioids in benzodiazepine. So you're seeing the focus of the research article kind of takes a left turn, and it focuses on what could be a bigger problem, or it could be what we're seeing, a combination of the two being focusing on the bigger problem. And obviously, to me, it looks like their focus should be on what the title of the research project is. It came across as a red flag to me, but I obviously see that if you're talking about opioid addiction, it's good to talk about the main keys on how to reverse it, the signs and symptoms. It's good to talk about that as a whole, but you're also needing to tell us more about how to reverse the combination of the two. See, if you have two different substances being reversed, I would assume that you would reverse both substances instead of focusing on the more problematic one. To me, that's just what I thought, and hopefully more research articles can show more of a focus on treating both equally. That's just what I think personally.